going to be going over the new native Quickbase document generation and a comparison to our Exact Forms Plus tool. One thing I want to say, especially for the recording, Exact Forms and Exact Forms Plus, two different things. That's been the number one question we've gotten throughout this process is, now that Exact Forms is going to be sunset, what am I going to do with my Exact Forms Plus? I'm very nervous. So no need to be alarmed. Exact Forms Plus is not going anywhere. So we'll be here to support you. And now, even with the new Quickbase native document generation, we have a ton of new tools and features that we're going to be rolling out. And I'm going to hand it off to Keith now so that he can explain some of the key differences and kind of what we can do going forward with this new option available. So thank you, Keith, and I'll hand it off to you.
Thanks, Matt. Yeah, so thank you for joining. And Matt brought up a good point. So the Exact Forms Plus came about because when Exact Forms existed way back when and people were using it, we wanted to provide some additional document creation capabilities. So we didn't know what to name it, so we named it Exact Forms Plus. But again, it's totally separate. It's going to live on hopefully forever. So when they do sunset Exact Forms is still around. So there's no worries there. So again, thanks for joining. As part of today's presentation, I just want to kind of give a quick comparison. I don't want to go really deep. I have a lot of slides on it, but we don't have to go crazy deep on it. We can always go, if you have questions, we can always go further into it. But I have a little bit of a comparison between Exact Forms and native document templates. And then I'm actually going to show you, we'll talk about how we can use the two of them together. So how you can use Exact Forms Plus and actually a native document template. And then we'll go through some demos so you can see it for real. So that's just, so really some high-level general comparison is who can use it, right? So Exact Forms Plus, it doesn't matter what type of account. You can have a builder account, you can have a team account, business, enterprise, you can use it. So as we all learned last week at Empower Pro, right now business and enterprise accounts are the only ones who can use the native document templates, and with teams being able to hold a trial. So that's who can use it. Installation, from Exact Forms Plus standpoint, you got to use our wizard from our cloud. So that's how it's installed. Native templates are part of your schema. So you actually will just go into your table, hit the settings, and that's how you can get to your document templates and create new. And again, there are execution differences. You execute them both through buttons. But the one thing about our installation process, we create the button for you. You don't have to go to the Exchange to download to do an install. You don't have to go to the help site and copy and paste the formula code. That's what you have to do with native templates. With us, when you go through our wizards, we create that formula URL field, right, or rich text field. There's nothing more you have to do at that point. So we try to make the installation as easy as possible. Authentication, when we're actually running Exact Forms Plus, we use user tokens to run. Whereas Quickbase, they'll use the logged in user. So whoever clicks the button, the logged in user is the person who clicks. So that's how the authentication is done. Output formats, we still do Word and PDF, whereas native document templates can do Word, PDF, as well as HTML. So the document templates themselves, how do you manage them, or who can manage them? You can do that through permissions for us because we store all the document templates in a separate document templates table. So it's not actually in the schema or in the settings of a table. So you don't have to be an app builder. You don't have to be an admin to manage your document templates or create new ones or modify them. The application manager can decide who can do that. So you can have a regular client-based role or let's say a lower level management role or like just a user role. And they can have access to the document templates because it's in the table. But on the native document template side, you actually have to have capability to be a builder or maybe, let's say, have access to the settings of a table. So again, you get to it through our document templates table or you get through schema on a table. So building and maintaining, we use Word. So it's a very familiar user interface. It's Microsoft Word. No learning curve there. The native document template builder is very similar to the email builder. Like they introduced that new advanced email notification builder. It's very, very similar to that. So if you're used to that, then the native template builder won't be a big switch for you. But again, it's not something like an industry standard product like Word. So that's kind of where we still use it. But the native template builder, you should be familiar with it just by using Quickbase itself.
Keith, we don't need any macros for Word, right?
No macros, and there's no macros on either side. So there's no macros
Right.
with native templates. There's no macros with Exact Forms Plus. You use Word, any version of Word. It could be a Mac version of Word. It could be any version of Office that has Word.
Right.
So when you actually kick off to generate documents, they're both done through a button click. So you click a button to generate the document. Exact Forms Plus can be triggered via email notifications as well as pipelines, and you can also trigger native document generation through pipelines. So they both allow you to generate single document at a time. Exact Forms Plus obviously will allow you to do multiple documents at one time. And that's through our batch processor or as well as our regular web version of Exact Forms Plus. You can't do multiple documents in native template builder unless you introduce pipelines. So again, we want to try to talk about some of the things we can do easily without putting code in, because we want to keep to the mantra of no code or as low as code as possible. So some of these things I'm going to talk about on the native document template side. With some advanced coding techniques, you probably can do you can change the no's to yeses, but I have them as no's because we're trying to do it as no code as possible, low code as possible. Merging multiple documents into a single document, obviously Exact Forms Plus can do that. You can't do that on the native side. Exact Forms Plus can save files to a couple different storage facilities, obviously file attachment fields native to Quickbase. We can store to Dropbox or Amazon S3, and we can store in repository tables. So let's say you have a quotes table and you have a documents table. We allow you to take that document for the quote and store it into a repository table. And if there was any other, let's say other storage facilities that you wanted to use, you can certainly use pipelines to do that, as well as with document templates. There are ways to save, but you got to get into pipelines to do it. So it's not a native feature of native document templates to save to a file attachment field. I don't know if that's going to change. That might change, but right now it's not available. Some limits, I took these limits right out of the help site on Quickbase's help site for document templates. They limit the size of the document template itself to 1 megabyte, and the number of document templates per table is 50, whereas with Exact Forms Plus, you have as many records as you want to put into a document templates table you can do. And we have customers that have hundreds and hundreds of document templates. But again, it's per table. On the document template side, this is per table. So you might not need more than 50 per table. We don't restrict you on the size of the document you can create as well. We say 75 megabytes here because that's the limit on the file attachment field. But if you wanted to store it in S3 or somewhere else, then you can go up to potentially a gig if you wanted to, if you want to get crazy. But again, these are just some of the limits straight out of Quickbase's help site. So some other core features that are worth noting here is Exact Forms Plus allows you to update additional fields when you create the document. So if you wanted to update some other field in the table to I don't know, maybe you want to update a status field that the document was created and so on. We allow you to do that right by clicking, right? It's kind of a feature of Exact Forms Plus. You can merge additional PDFs, so you can use our add files or pre-files, and you can attach documents before and after the generated document. You can embed fonts in the PDF output, so if you needed to store fonts that represent well inside of a PDF, these are some of the things you can do with Exact Forms Plus, as well as use a wide variety of fonts. So we have customers ask us all the time, hey, I have this special font that I really like to use. It's in my contracts, it's in all our contracts, it's standard throughout our business. Can you install that font and allow Exact Forms Plus to use it? So we do that. We install those fonts on our servers. As long as they're licensed to be installed on the server, we don't want to violate any license policies on fonts. So we'll install them for you on our servers, and then they'll be available. We can create 508 compliant PDFs, so if you do have that need, we can do that, as well as create fillable PDFs. So I'm just highlighting some of these things that we do that it's not available in the native document templates. So just some of the reasons why you might want to choose Exact Forms Plus if you have that need. Again, if you don't have these needs, then native document templates could satisfy whatever your requirements are, as long as some of these things aren't part of those requirements. Some more as we create password protected documents. One new thing that we're going to be able to do, and we're actually going to take advantage of native document templates to be able to include chart reports in Exact Forms Plus now. And including summary reports, we can certainly do that. Quickbase templates can do that as well, but you can only do it from a master table. So if you wanted to pull a summary report from another table, that's a challenge right now. Dynamic barcode generation, we support that in Exact Forms Plus. You can do that in Quickbase, but you'd have to actually use some barcode generation server or service, and then you can probably embed that into the template. But we actually generate the barcodes while the document's being created, so you don't necessarily need a separate field in Quickbase to do that. We have a lot of different mailing label templates that can be used as well. And one thing we do, which was interesting, when I was playing around with the templates, is I was playing with checkboxes, and the document templates checkboxes just shows a yes or a no in the native. So you can't actually show a physical square box that's X'd out. So we do that with the Exact Forms Plus. Just again, some more. I don't want to go, I'm kind of going deep into this, probably deeper than I wanted to, but again, these are just some of the things that if you need these features on the left-hand side, we certainly support them in Exact Forms Plus. So we've modified Exact Forms Plus, so version 11.9 is going to allow you to use the native document templates in Exact Forms Plus. Again, it'll be available to business and enterprise accounts. Team accounts who are on a trial can certainly use it. And again, we're planning on rolling that out probably.
I think Monday, Keith.
I think we would know Friday. I think we're gonna,
Friday?
yeah, because we're rolling out some JuSign updates on Friday too. So since we're in the servers anyway, I think we're gonna roll it out on Friday.
So, Keith, while we're here, and I think it's important to highlight this, what exactly do you mean by we're going to allow Exact Forms Plus users to use native document templates?
Right, that's gonna be on
We're
my
getting
next
there. Okay.
slide. But really, what the reason why we decided to change Exact Forms Plus to use the document templates is we were part of the early beta, so we knew some of the functionality that was coming out and where maybe it was going to stop, and we saw that the need to save a file in a file attachment field is huge, and we think that you can certainly do it with pipelines, and I think some people have shared some ways to do that, but we wanted to make it as easy as possible to do it, and that's what Exact Forms Plus does. It allows you to generate documents and store them in a file attachment field. And you don't have to have code to do it, so you don't need a pipeline to do it. We also want you to be able to maybe trigger that document creation without having to do pipelines. So maybe when a record status is changed from pending to complete, you want to fire that document without clicking a button. We'll allow you to do that. And this is with native templates. It's not necessarily Exact Forms Plus templates. These are with native templates. And also, we wanted to take advantage of the new charting capabilities in the native template. So we've incorporated that into Exact Forms Plus. So these are some of the reasons why we decided to do that. And now, to Matt's point, he was like, what does that mean? So we're going to allow our existing Exact Forms Plus customers to use the document templates, the native document templates, create up to 200 documents a month, and it's not going to count towards your usage or your transactions that you pay for when you pay for Exact Forms Plus. So as long as you're not using any other functionality of Exact Forms Plus besides saving it to a file attachment field and updating the EFP date and time, that's considered a no charge transaction. The minute you need to use something more advanced, maybe you want to use add files, maybe you want to save to a repository, save to S3, use barcodes. If you want to use some other, let's say, advanced features of Exact Forms Plus, then that's going to be considered a charged transaction, so it'll go towards your usage limits. So again, if you're only using the native document templates and you're going to save it to a file attachment field and update the date and time, you can do 200 of those a month. Now, so that's if you're an existing Exact Forms Plus customer. If you're not an existing Exact Forms Plus customer, we'll allow you to do 50 documents per month at no charge. So you basically can use Exact Forms Plus, and you can save the documents with using the native document templates to file attachment fields and update an EFPD. Again, that's the only functionality that is allowable through Exact Forms Plus right now when you're using native document templates. And again, we're just putting these out not now. These are just some of the things we've been thinking about, and these are subject to change. So this might not stay like this forever. So I just wanted to kind of make that point. Just to go back one slide, so we said why. So it's very simple to take an existing Exact Forms Plus URL field and make it use a document template. We use some of the similar same parameters that the native templates use. You're going to add a new one called native equals yes. That's going to tell Exact Forms Plus the TPID that's set on that URL field. You should be using the TPID in the native document templates as opposed to the document templates table for Exact Forms Plus. There are two other parameters that are a little bit more advanced. These are probably going to be on the chargeable side, so I'll actually show you those as well. But the only parameter you really need is native equals yes, and then you can use a native document template. So on the demo side, I'm going to kind of go through the setup wizard, some of the changes that we made to our setup wizard, and we'll go through the new parameters that I just spoke about. We'll execute Exact Forms Plus with a native document template to save it to a file attachment field, and then we'll actually see how they both work together, where you can use some of both features from both the native template and Exact Forms Plus. All right, so I have this application here. This is, I'm in my Builder account, and this is an app. Actually, I used the AI Builder for this. I wanted to try it out myself, so I used the AI Builder to build me a quoting application. I just had simple clients, quotes, and quote items tables. So what I did was I created a native document template on my quotes table. So again, here's how you access your native document templates. So you got to go into the structure of the app, or not the structure, you have to go into the document template. So I'm in the schema right now when I click on this. So I can, again, it's the same place where you go to find notifications or forms or reports, but I'm just going to go to document templates. And I pre-created this document template. Let's take a look at it. And actually what I did was I imported it from a Word document. And one thing you notice, if you do try and import a Word document, if it has headers and footers, they don't come in. But what I did do is I took whatever was in my header and footer, put it in the body, and I imported it before I saved that before I imported it in here. So I did get something to come in here, and then I just grabbed it and threw it down into the headers and footers. So, this is a little bit challenging, but it's a user interface that you just got to get used to. But basically, you're adding elements, meaning you're adding fields or you're adding reports and so on. So this is going to be a standard template that's going to show my quote information and some items. And what I did here was I showed two reports. One that's a grouped embedded report, and one that's not. I'm sorry, this one is grouped and this one is not. And again, I have headers and footers. So that's my template. So let's actually go and generate a quote using native document templates. It has nothing to do with Exact Forms Plus. I'm just talking native templates here. So I go into my quote. I already put the button out here. So again, this I had to copy and paste the code from the help site, or I had to go into the Exchange to download the code. But if you took a quick look at that, it's pretty simplistic. It's not crazy, and there are some similarities to Exact Forms Plus, where you have template IDs, table names, and so on. But that's what the code looks like. So it points at template number 1. You can give it a name. You can say whether you want the output to be PDF or docx or HTML, and that's it. So we don't have to do anything there. I'm going to generate this document with that template. So now it's just gathering the data from the master. And here you go. You got your PDF, which spacing is a challenge. If you've played with your document templates in the template builder, spacing is going to be a bit of a challenge. You're not going to have as much control over it. Now again, if you're an HTML whiz, a CSS whiz, you can probably take care of a lot of this stuff. But to go back to the no code, low code mantra, it gets a little bit challenging when you're starting to mess with this. One other thing that, this is a not grouped report. It does summarize, so that's nice. It summarizes your numeric fields. These are based on the properties of the field itself. So I turned off the summarization property of item quantity. That's why it's not summing it. But if numeric fields have the sum property on, it's going to sum them up for you. With one thing with us with Exact Forms Plus is we allow you to choose the ones that you want to set up. Like if you don't want to summarize all of them, we allow you to choose the ones you want to summarize. And then here's a grouped report, which the headers on the group aren't showing up right now. And it does subtotal and grand total though, but there's some issues there that have to be worked on, and I've reported some of these things to Quickbase too. So that's your document. So now, but it's not stored in a file attachment field. So if you want to do that, so again, you're a new client to Quickbase and you want to actually save that, you can use Exact Forms Plus to do that. And the way you're going to do that is if you're a new customer to Quickbase, I want to show you quickly. If you go to, you can use our public wizard, and Justin has a link to that he could share. But if you went to our main website and you go to document generation and you go to start a free trial, you're going to get this screen here. So this is where, like, if you're an existing Quickbase customer, Exact Forms Plus customer, or any add-on of ours, you won't go through this. You will do the setup through our cloud. But just for those of you who might not be with us just yet, office hours, and I'm just putting in my account URL here, and I grab my, and you'll also need a user token as well before you advance here. So if you come here and you're not sure if you're an existing customer of ours, if you do put in an account URL that exists in our system, you'll get an error. It's basically telling you got to go through the cloud in order to set up any of our add-ons. You can't use our public-facing wizards. But in this case, I set up my account to not be a user. So then what happens is you'll get an email from Gmail, in this case from my Gmail, but you'll get an email with the email address that you registered. You'll just enter in the code. So in this case, 5310. That's just a way that we can verify your email address before letting you in. So here I have my user token and notepad over here. So this is assigned to the application that we were just looking at. So those of you who know about Exact Forms Plus already, you'll see that this next step is a little different. This is what's been added. So this section here is new, and there's a little help that tells you what they mean. So that by default, it's Exact Forms Plus. It's set up to set up Exact Forms Plus template. But if you want to use native templates with Exact Forms Plus, you would choose this. Then, when you hit next, you choose your table. So again, I want to set up the quotes table, and I'm going to use that existing document template ID, which is 1. That's the one that I created in the app. That's it. And I want to do an output of PDF. When I click Finish, it's going to add a couple of fields to our quotes table. Here's the fields it added. And again, we have some information in our help site. So if you took a look at this, we have some more information about our document templates, and we actually link to Quickbase's help site as well. So that's how you can get to more information there. But if I go right to my quotes table, so now I'm going to go back to that quote record. I'm just going to edit it. So now we added a couple of fields here. So we added a couple buttons, and we actually added a file attachment field and an EFP date field. So now if I click this button, what it should do is it should be running against that same document template, the native document template. And you'll see that if you're familiar with Exact Forms Plus, this was added. Native equals yes. These two are added as well, but they're blanked out, so they're not being used. The only one that's really going to be used is native equals y. That's the only difference here. We blanked out the document template table because obviously if you're not using full Exact Forms Plus, you don't have a subtable table. So that's all that was different in the formula URL field that we just created. So I'm just going to click the button to generate the document. So now it's actually going to use that same document template. So it's the same look. So it's not using the Exact Forms Plus document templates, it's using the native document template from Quickbase. But the added benefit, once this refreshes, is the file stored in a file attachment field, and the EFP date time is updated. So that's the big difference between using document templates through Exact Forms Plus and using document templates through native Quickbase. You get it actually in a file attachment field. So that's one. What I did was I preloaded this in here, but what I need to do is I need to change to. I want to show you how you can actually generate that with with our batch processor. Again, this is all part of being a customer of ours, using document templates, native document templates, generating a single document at a time and saving it to a file attachment field. But right now, the fields are different, so it's 53 and 54. It's the only thing I gotta change. Three, 54. All right. So we usually put a button here to execute batch, and really what it does is it sends these parameters off to Exact Forms Plus batch processor to do the same thing, meaning it's going to generate the document and it's going to update this time. And you know what? Let's blank that out.
Do you still need an email notification though?
Yep, I did. I preloaded a lot of
Pre-made
this
it.
stuff, so good point, Matt. But there is an email notification that will fire that. If you come over here, this email notification will say send an email to our batch processor. I'm using our demo batch processor. And it says, when do you want to do it? Well, when this trigger field gets updated, and it's going to send the batch parameters over to Exact Forms Plus. And you can set that to be however you want it. It doesn't matter how you want it to trigger. But in our case, we're using the execute batch button to do that. So if I go back to that first quote record, I click my execute batch. What it does is it updates that trigger field, which sends an email notification to, I'm going to refresh. Oh, that's what that trigger field. Did it update it? Yep. So this is batch executed. So now it should come back and say that that's processed, and it should store the file in a file attachment field. See, it's processed. There's the file. There's the date time. Again, it is that same file that was generated from native document templates. Okay. So that's using Exact Forms Plus to generate a document with a button click, and then Exact Forms Plus to generate a document, with a native template through our batch processor. So again, you could have this, I triggered it by this button, but if you had this status and you said you want it, when the status changes, you want to fire that, you can do that as well. Just, it's another filter you would put into the email notification to trigger that. But again, what I've just done now, that's no charge. So if you're a new customer to us, no charge. If you're an existing customer, that's not going to go against your allotted usage transactions.
Right. And one way, Keith, that I have in mind with the batch processor that I bring up to a lot of clients is it's a good way to maintain governance over who can do this and how many times as well. Because if you have it based off of a status field, you're not giving them just a button to press where maybe one trigger happy user ends up generating a ton of these. You just have one process for them.
Right. Good point. Okay, so now for my existing Exact Forms Plus customers. So if I have this very similar application, but I preset it up with Exact Forms Plus so you can see our document templates tables and so on. So again, it's doing the same thing. It has the same template. Wrong table. So it has our document templates. I added a couple other ones just to show a little bit more advanced stuff. So that's our native document template. So I go to my quotes. I'm gonna go to that same quote. Generate the native template. I think I have a couple extra stuff in here. Might have a chart in here, I think. So again, it's the same document as we saw before, but it also includes a graph. So again, this is native document templates showing a chart. So this is a trend analysis chart or something like that. But on the Exact Forms Plus side, I actually created a document template to look very similar to that with Exact Forms Plus. And I actually created a document subtables with that. So with Exact Forms Plus, again, the document templates are stored here in our document templates table. And I actually set up 2 document subtables to match that grouped and ungrouped quote items on that quote. So let's actually generate that with Exact Forms Plus and take a look at it. And I'll show you some of the spacing differences too. So if I So this is going to use real Exact Forms Plus here, meaning it's going to use an Exact Forms Plus document template. So you can see that you have a little bit more condensed space. This also appeared differently in, you know what, let me pull it over here. Let's pull up that one as well. Let's do a side by side on this. Okay. So we got our native, we got our Exact Forms Plus. So you see that when I mentioned before about spacing, you have some spacing challenges with the native document templates. You'll see that this has some header on it, so it says not grouped and grouped, but you can see that we give you the ability to control, I just threw this in there, you can control colorization of the grouped rows. But in this case, you see that the grouped row doesn't have the value of the product type, which it should, but it doesn't. And it doesn't, what also we allow you to do too is we allow you to control the subtotal, like put a label in the subtotal and in the total, and you don't really get that. And then also, here we go. Now you can use charts in Exact Forms Plus. So this is actually showing a chart report. That's a Quickbase chart report in an Exact Forms Plus document. And we took advantage of native document templates to do that. Let me just pull it over there. One way we did that is we actually had to we created a document template that just had the chart in it. So I created a document template with just the chart, and then Exact Forms Plus references this when it runs in the actual template itself. I think I have the template here. Just want to show you quick how that's referenced in there. So here's how it's referenced in Exact Forms Plus. So that's our nomenclature here. You say I want to do a chart. The template ID, the native template ID is 3. There's an ID inside that chart that says 14, and I want to size it. You also notice that we gave you the ability to size that. So where this is a little bit big here, we can control that. And I'm sure you could probably control that through some other settings inside of the HTML, inside the native document template, but we give it to you right in your template here as well. So that's one additional change that we're happy about with Exact Forms Plus, being able to take advantage of document templates that way. So again, for you existing Exact Forms Plus customers, if you wanted to use this, you're going to go to the cloud. I'm just going to close the wizard here. I'm going to go into my Builder account. I want to go into the other one. Right? Go into Exact Forms Plus. I'm going to scroll all the way down because this is that app that already has EFP client in it, but I'm going to set up another table, right? So if I set up another table, I'm going to choose so you see exactly what the public facing or non-quick choose clients saw. You're going to choose native document template. And again, you're going to choose that quotes table, existing template ID is 1, finish, and now it's going to update that. So again, if you're an existing Exact Forms Plus customer and you wanted to take advantage of the native document templates, you can use our wizard to set that up. It creates the buttons for you, creates the additional file attachment fields. See, it dropped them down here. It just created these new fields. But what it did do, I'm going to go into the parameters of that. It set the native equals y already in there. So basically, you just click that button and it'll generate based on that document template now. All right. I think the only other thing I think I didn't cover is if you're not a client of ours already, once you get access to the cloud, if you wanted to now use full Exact Forms Plus, you can do that as well by just going into.
It is office hours. The client that you were using.
Oh, Thank you, Manal. So here's the client that I built, I used before. That was not an Exact Forms Plus customer. So it's showing you here you have no current max activity because you haven't actually used anything that's chargeable. But if you now set up another table in that same app and you say you want to use full Exact Forms Plus, because you did this before because you didn't want to use Exact Forms Plus, but now you realize that you need Exact Forms Plus. That's what we're hoping. So you go through here, you go through the standard setup, and the difference here is now we're going to create the full Exact Forms Plus tables inside of your application. So before we didn't see those. So now we created a whole bunch more tables, more fields, so you get the full Exact Forms Plus experience in that. Remember before we were in the new client app, we didn't see these tables before, but now they're there and you can take advantage of full Exact Forms Plus. Wow, I got through a lot of it. I didn't think I was going to get through it all. So that's what we have to share. Again, this will be available on Friday. If you really wanted to take advantage of it now and you wanted a preview before Friday, reach out to us at support@juicetech.com and we can see if we can update your account. But we like to slowly roll this out just so that we don't do a big bang rollout to everybody. We usually slowly roll it out just to make sure everything's good. But that's what we have to share today with Exact Forms Plus and native templates. Questions?
Yep, there was just some stuff in the chat, Keith, about sizing of the of the tables and also sizing of the charts. I think you covered it though, so no need there. But if there's any other questions, please feel free to put them in the chat, guys, or feel free to come off mic and jump in the conversation. More than happy to discuss.
Yeah, I think when you got a very simple document, 1 page or 2 pages that doesn't need anything crazy, the native document templates are going to support you. They'll work well. Just some of the spacing issues are a challenge, so you'll have to try to figure out a way around that. And again, with some HTML coding experience, maybe some styling experience, you might be able to get around that.
Absolutely. We did have a question in the chat. Interesting stuff. Where will the recording be housed? YouTube. We do put all of our videos onto YouTube. There we go. And I'm just putting a link to it there. You can find all of our office hours sessions on that YouTube page. I thought Manal was actually going to shout out office hours before and say Matt should be talking because it's office hours. But that's okay.
Next week.
But overall, Keith, great job. We appreciate you making these summaries and having all of this insight be available to all of our customers and doing the side-by-side comparison. If you guys, like Keith said, have any questions about this or Exact Forms Plus in general, please feel free to reach out to us at support@juicetech. We do have some more questions rolling in. To have the chart report included in our Exact Forms Plus, we would have to use the native document template report first.
Yes.
So yes, you do, and I think Keith put in there how he did that. Maybe Keith, you could just go over that ID again. I think that was slightly gone over.
Yeah, because you have to create what we do is we create a separate template with just the chart in it. So if you go to, here's the chart, right? So, and it has template ID 3, native template ID 3. The only difference is, so you drop that report right on there. The only thing you need to do is right above it, you put ID 14, and 14 is the report ID of this report. So if we went back to this report that's underneath the quotes table, and it's called created date trend. Created date trend is report ID 14. So when I click this, you can see it right here. So really, because we can't reference it any other way, we need you to just give us this ID 14 for this report. So if you had another one, so I have this one template. I'll show you quick. That I put a bunch of chart reports together. So you don't have to have a separate one for every one if you don't want to, but sometimes it's better because it does take a little time to generate these. So if they're crazy charts, you probably do want to keep them separate. But just to show you what we can do, if you have multiple charts that you want to have in a single template, you can have one chart template. So I have report 78, report 79, report 80, so I have a bunch of them. So then in my exact forms plus template, that's how we reference this. I say I want to use template number 5 in this case, but I want to use ID 78 and I want to size it 200 or maybe 500 and so on. So you can have, in our document template, exact forms plus document template, you can have multiple chart lines anywhere throughout the document, and it'll display that chart right there.
Yeah, I think that was important to reiterate again, because personally, I think I'm most excited for that. In my 4 years here, I think I've had, you know, 50 plus customers ask us if we could do chart reports, and the best response has always been to utilize Excel docs. For those of you still utilizing Excel docs, as you should be, there is a lot more features and functionality that Excel kicks off with those charts and graphs. But for a simple Quickbase graph, if you want to show it almost like an image, like Keith did, that this is now the best way to handle that.
There is a limitation on the charts though,
Okay.
and I kind of reported this to Harrison and team. The when you drop a report in a template, and I'm going to do that quick just so we see this. When you drop an embedded report, it asks you if you want to tie it to the master record, if you will. So let's just do that. So let's add an element. Let's do report as a customizable table, right? So here it asks you, okay, what report? And do you want to, attach it to the report link? They have to do this yet. They haven't done this yet with the charts. So the downfall of the charts is it's a chart that's going to be unfiltered. It's going to be filtered based on the filter of the chart itself, but it won't add that extra filter to reduce it by the record that you're on or the master record that you're on. And I did report that because obviously if you're on a quote, you don't want to see the blown out chart of every other quote. You just want to see the chart for that particular quote. So they need to incorporate this when you drop a summary report or a chart report, which they haven't done yet. And I'm hoping that they'll be able to do that. Then it's going to be really, really exciting because I think that's really what we want. We want to filter by the master record that we're on. We want that chart to represent just that record's parameters or KPIs.
So Keith, one thing that I just got in the chat from an unknown hero. We you can see him laughing maybe. But there was a community post about reports with images being too large, and they're trying to basically print out an inventory management report. Trying to do quick. Let's see. It's here. I'll just put it in the chat so you can see it yourself as well. But essentially, they have 197 records, each with a photo. And they're trying to say, and the output file comes out to be, 1,686,000 kilobytes. I think, what is that, 16 megabytes, or am I off on that? I don't know what the conversion is there, 1.6 megabytes?
Just reading to it. Yeah, it's definitely a challenge when you have that many images going through document creation. But we'd be happy to try running through that same type of scenario through here. The images do add a lot of size, obviously, and processing time to go grab that and convert it to an image because they're byte arrays and that's how they're stored and they got to get converted. So there's a little bit of a time frame to do that, and then they do make the size of the document pretty big.
Right, and it's looking like my conversions weren't the best, but it comes out to be 1.6 gigabytes. So I'm not sure if we could save that.
Yeah,
to
gigabytes is going to be that's a challenge. I mean, we could do special things like this, but you kind of have your own. You have to have your own server with us to do that. And the reason for that is because while you're running, you're impacting our other customers. You're chewing up resources on our servers, and we certainly don't want to impede the progress of our other customers. So If that's something that needs to be done over and over again, you know, it's a more charges from our side, but we can do it, but we'd have to put you on a different server so that you're playing in your own playground, basically. But then we'd have to store that file in an Amazon S3, or that would probably be the most efficient is Amazon S3.
What about image resizer and rotator? That's not going to take the actual size of those images. Is that going to reduce them or no?
It does. It reduces them.
Oh, look, Manal even said it.
Yeah. Hey, look, even Mike knows. Mike's our biggest resizer user.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So that's an option too. We could, did we ever make the batch resizer?
No, we didn't.
No, I don't think so. 197 times, not too bad. Uh,
Thanks, Mike. We appreciate that.
yeah. Good questions though. Appreciate the participation.
I mean, we do have some customers that, without even images, they want to. We actually had it the other day. Someone wants to show 7,000 line items in a PDF. Um, we could do it, but we kind of limit it to about on our batch, so it's 7,500 on our web version, 2,000. But we can do it. It's just the number of pages in that document is crazy, and it's really, you wonder how usable is that, because it's hundreds and hundreds of pages. But I'm not sure if the native templates will handle. I don't know if there's any limitations. I know if you just drop a regular report, not a customizable report, there's a limited number of records that it will show. I think it'll only show the first 100. But I think if you use a customizable report, it offers more. I'm not sure if there's a limit on that, though I never really tried it.
All right.
Well, if there's nothing else, we really appreciate you joining us today. I hope this was a good comparison between what just was released last week and what we've been using for 15 plus years now. And again, we're constantly modifying Exact Forms Plus, and it's based on the feedback we get from you guys. So keep it coming, because we like it, because we want to keep it fresh, we want to keep it new. And now we have more to compete with too, which is not a problem. You know, competition is good.
Well, as always, everyone, we appreciate your time today. We look forward to seeing you guys on our next office hours, Wednesday at 2 p.m. Hopefully, you guys have a great rest of your week. And like Keith said, please,
Tuesdays next week. We're gonna change
Tuesday.
it.
Sorry, Tuesday next week.
Yes,
We have a little
Tuesday.
scheduled.
We had a
Yeah,
schedule change for next week. But
yeah,
we'll put that out. It's gonna be Tuesday at 2 o'clock, and we're gonna be going over the new changes to JuiceSign.
Right.
New release of JuiceSign. There's some cool features coming out in that. So if you're interested, please join us.
Right. All right, everyone. Thanks
All
all
right.
for coming.
Have a great day.
Hey Keith,
Yes.
real quick, you had to put something in the process where it looked like it was almost a scheduling type of feature available, where it was triggered off of either the button being clicked or you could schedule that later.
Yes.
Uh, is that possible to where you could set it up for example, have it run at 6 a.m. every morning, have this kick off at 6 a.m. every morning, or is that a pipeline
That's
situation still?
that's better done through pipeline, since there's scheduling. If you're a courier customer of ours, we can do it through courier, because courier basically sends emails, right? So we can do that same type of email notification. So we can do a scheduled courier config to kick off Exact Forms Plus batch processor. But if you're not a courier customer and you want to do it on a scheduled basis, you're probably better off using pipelines to do that. But you can send those same parameters in the pipelines as we do in the email notification. So, but it's a good option.
Okay, yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm a courier customer.
Oh, so
Matt could
yeah, we can do that.
Matt could correct me if he wants to, but I think I'm a courier customer.
You are. Yep.
He
There's
said you
multiple
are.
ways to do that.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.